Hello, good people! So we are up to episode, 13, but apparently last Friday, Google took my little thing down because I had some rock and roll going on in the back deal, and I'm gonna just kind of add in a little bit of that today instead of doing like a food hack and a brain hack. I think I'm going to just substitute that, and we're going to make some Caesar salad dressing. So, I'm Donna Meals, and that's who I am, and that's what I do. And I'm basically here. My goal is to teach everybody food gamification, which is figuring out what you should truly eat, because that's a big question for a lot of people. There's so many diets out there, but I'm trying to show everybody ways to figure out what they should truly eat, and then also learning how to love that. So even if you have to give some things up and make some substitutions, there's a process of just kind of overcoming the negativity of that and just being grateful for what you can have. So without anything further on that, I keep changing the definition as I go, but I'm just really trying to really put it out there that, and this is for everything in life, but when it comes to eating right, it's really all about the mental as well as the physical. And if you learn how to empower yourself and be in charge, be in the driver's seat, the whole process goes so much easier and so much more pleasantly, because we all want to look good. We all want to feel good. I've been, narrowing down to the three majors: obesity, heart disease, and high blood pressure. So those are really the biggies where the most people have their trials with. Mostly because their doctor is saying, hey, you got to make some changes here. But I know that they just kind of send you out and you got to deal with, figuring it out on your own. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm trying to help you figure out what it is that's the right thing for you, that kind of goes in with what you like. So one of the things that I've come across is that people that really don't like to cook because it seems to be very time consuming, etc. And I really think that if you're able to just come up with a couple of your go-tos, and then figure out how to make sure that they're healthy. They may already be, I don't know, and I do, I have a lot of guidelines, and I think I'll probably repost the handout that I have on a couple things, and it's just kind of like a little mini workbook for people to look through and say, okay, here's my go-tos, I'm gonna list them down, let's see if we can change them around if we need to substitute any of the unhealthy things. I have got a whole list of things really you should stay away from, just the general guidelines of what you should eat. And basically lots of veggies, make the animal protein lean, and make your carbs complex. So that means eat the brown rice instead of the white rice, or eat double helping of vegetables instead of the rice or the potatoes. So those are just the things. And the one thing that I just want to really put out there, and this is what everybody really should think about. And forgive me if I reiterate things and kind of go through them again, but they're so important. That's why, it's my little mantras. But we are a chemical factory, okay? The only raw materials that we have to work with to make the chemicals that we need, and our body, our brain, they know, our body and our brain, I say they, even though it's one entity, but your body intrinsically knows what it needs, okay? That's why we have cravings sometimes, okay? Not all the time. Sometimes we crave crap because our body's used to eating the crap, and that's just a bad cycle to get into. But there are certain times where we just feel like something, I feel like a steak. Maybe I need a little more iron, or, our bodies know, and our bodies are capable of healing themselves and weeding out the bad stuff. That's why we have an immune system, and that's why we have the system set up, with all of our different entities. There's digestion and assumption, there's so many different things, processes that we have that goes on. Like I said, under the radar, subconsciously, our breathing and digestion, all of those things, they're going to happen whether we're thinking about them or not. Okay. And that's just part of what keeps us alive. But the best thing that we can do is give them the proper fuel. Simple as that. So, there's a lot of guidelines here that I've trying to give in the handouts, and I like I said, I will post those. I just redid a few, and they're looking pretty good. I just made a few little changes, and so that's just kind of a general overview of where I'm really going with all of this, because I kind of have to sit back and say, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of information that I have to give you, and there's so much out there, that we have, as a people, as a species, have known for thousands of years, little habits and just different things that we've known to eat or how to heal ourselves. It's all, for many years, been figured out, and it's all chemistry. It's really still all chemistry. Whatever you put in your gullet, that's what your body has to work with. So that's when I say put in the proper fuel. So anyway, that's just kind of common sense 101 for everybody. Oh, where's my little thing? Common sense. That was my life hat, my life coach hat. I'm going to put on the chef hat now. Okay, that's the third one. So, and I want to go in today. I want to do my quote for the day, because it kind of relates to some of this. But this is Abraham Hicks. I love Abraham Hicks. Just brilliant stuff. The only problem with leaving and going someplace else is that you take yourself with you. You take your vibrational habits and patterns with you. Wow. I mean, I could go on for 2 hours about that, but, the whole idea is, what she said, is our patterns in our little back of our brain there that have been established by, our family and our friends and our culture and growing up and what we were taught, the way things are. Even if they aren't really that way, our mind will still operate and go on as if they were. So, this just really speaks to the same idea of, definition of insanity. You can't just move away from somewhere and your life's going to change. It's pretty much going to be the same because you are taking you with you. You're bringing all your I don't want to say baggage, because we shouldn't put that connotatively in a negative place, but you're bringing your patterns with you. And so changing the scenery and the people out, or whatever it is, it's not going to change things for you. You have to make that change, and that is through habits and patterns. Getting a pattern and continually doing that becomes a habit, and that just becomes part of what your new program is, which is better. I mean, I know everybody, they always get the newest upgrade. Upgrade yourself. You can do this. If you're sitting there and you're saying, my pants don't fit right, I'm not, oh my gosh, bathing suit season's coming, or my doctor said I'm gonna go into, I'm a candidate for a stroke or a heart attack, or, if you have irritable bowel issues, which, by the way, that's not a specific disease, it's dis-ease in general. It could be, you can get this diagnosis of IBS, excuse me, and the culprit could be 10 different things, so giving you something like some kind of medication to make you feel better, that's just solving the issue of, what's going on right this second, but it's not going to solve the problem. It's not going to go away. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And ancient wisdom has known this for thousands of years. And I think I quoted Hippocrates, let thy food be thy medicine, thy medicine be thy food. All you got to do is just put the right gas in the engine. And so many people, I know Kenneth, shout out to Kenneth. He's contributed a bit to the website, sent some beautiful food, but he solved he had all those issues and solved them just by eating right. For him, the choice was totally vegan, which that's fabulous, so like I said, everybody's got their own thing, and it's a journey to figure that out. And by the way, I'm going to put my website my book on this page after here, not my website. My book is available. I've got it on a Dropbox file, and I'll drop a link to it. And it's an easy read. Maybe save it for this weekend and just look at it a little bit. And basically, it's just gives you a starting process of understanding how things work, and it makes you just want to do better for yourself. So, okay. So, my topic for today, putting the chef hat on, is what I call the 5S process. And basically that's about creating a flavor profile. And I mean, you may hear this on the foodie channels. The first time I heard it, I was like, wow, they're getting all scientific and stuff. But it really is kind of, it's kind of when you taste something, and of course a lot of these chefs, they're all way high in the sky, they're going to talk about, I love the hint of this or the whatever, like a wine or something. But, I've never been all about that. I just know if something tastes good, it's because it has all of the different, it's usually something tastes fantastic. It has a blend of all of the 5 profile categories. And that is sweet, sour, salty, spicy, and seasonings, okay? Now, seasonings, I am going to term up as herbs and spices. And I think I mentioned this before, but an herb is simply the leaf, of a plant. And a spice is the root, stalk, bark, rind, seed, or pod of a plant. And usually dried and ground down. Sometimes you can put whole ones in there. I mean, people use them in different ways. Like bark, cinnamon is a bark. And cardamom is a pod. Seed, coriander. I use coriander seeds. Or, I think nutmeg. Yes, nutmeg is the seed, because I've bought whole nutmeg and ground them up fresh. Oh, amazing. So good in an Alfredo sauce. Many of you probably didn't even realize that there's nutmeg in a lot of Alfredos. And actually mace that's an old time spice. Nobody really uses that anymore. But I remember seeing it in my mom's cabinet, growing up. And it's basically the shell not the shell, it's like the pod of the nutmeg. They're related too. So, there's a lot to learn about seasonings and spices, but that's just something that a lot of people didn't know. I was kind of like, whoa, that's cool. I never thought of it like that, when I learned the difference between herbs and spices. So, I mean, basically what happens is you have a few different receptors in areas on your tongue that relate, your taste buds, that relate to different receptors in your brain, okay? And the more prevalent are sweet, sour, and the salty, for sure. And that's really just kind of your basic trinity of flavors. Now, when you start thinking you want to make something, for me, I feel like making something, I'll just Google something and look at a bunch of different recipes and pick out what I like in some of them. Granted, yes, I have a lot of experience at that, but that's kind of where you learn to get ideas for flavors, but in fact, we're gonna do, I made up a recipe blueprint, which is just a blueprint to make a salad dressing. And because my little show got on Friday, I'm just gonna make some Caesar dressing and go through and use my blueprint, which I'm gonna post too. But, the things that are the favorites that everybody loves are things that usually, they've been blended together with something from all of these categories. Now if you want, excuse me, I have the hiccups. If you want like sweet and sour chicken, yeah, Star of the Show is going to be sweet and sour. Not a whole lot of spice or seasonings in there, but I always put a little something or two. But I like to have my main flavors. And when we made the salmon lemon and thyme were the stars of the shows. But I also had a little parsley in there. You want your main flavors, and then you want your primary flavors, and then your secondary flavors. So, your sweet, sour, and salty are going to be your main flavors. And you want to get a good blend of those in a dish. But where the magic comes in is when you add something spicy or you add seasonings, herbs and spices, okay? And the herbs and spices, sometimes you get a mix of both. Usually it's more spices or more herbs. Sometimes you will, different areas of the world, they have different things that they adhere to as far as what their ingredients, probably things that were available there, So, like if I said, Italian food, well, basil, marjoram, oregano, those are all going to be common in a dish that I'm going to make with something from Italy. So anyway, I don't want to get too far down that road, but your basic thing is to set up those three: sweet, sour, salty. You don't necessarily always have to have like sauerkraut, unless you need to blend it a little bit, okay? Like ketchup, for instance, you're going to have sugar, you're going to have the acidity of the tomato paste, and you're going to have salt in ketchup, okay? But you don't think of it as sweet, you don't think of it as salty, and you don't think of it as sour. It's a blend of all the three. But look at how popular ketchup is, Mustard is more of a sour because it's made with vinegar. Vinegar is an acid. Acid tends to be sour. So it's, these are all just simple things. But you will also a lot of times find seasonings in something that are spicy seasonings, but it's not a spicy dish. They use it to just zing in the flavor and make it pop, okay? I put cayenne pepper, and we're gonna put some hot sauce. I put hot sauce in my Caesar dressing. But if somebody came and they tasted it for the first time, they'd be like, and I'd say, "Oh, is there anything spicy in there?" No, because it's used in that instance as, I'm not gonna say a blender, because a blender is more of a mellow, but it's more like it makes things pop. I should come up with a word for that. I don't know. And same with herbs and spices. They're really where you kind of bring out originality in the way something tastes. So, and I'll just leave it at there. And there are ways to balance. Like, I am queen of doctoring something. I'll buy the only thing I never had luck with, I just, I won't buy an Alfredo that's made up and try and doctor that. I'll just make my own. You can't miss with I make a good Alfredo. And I make a good Alfredo that's dairy-free too. I also have one that I make out of raw cashews. And I let them soak overnight and then blend them up. And you'd be amazed. You know, if you get the right mix of flavors in there. One nice thing that my ex always said about me is like, you could take a dog turd out of the yard and make it taste good. I did have a talent for that, you know, and just finding like, oh, this is too salty. So you can, if you need to cut the salt a little bit, add a little bit of sweet. You know, if something's too sour, you can add a little bit of sweet, something sugar. It doesn't mean you have to make the dish sweet, but it's just a way to achieve that balance. And I mean, there's some times where, like I said, I'll get a product and I'll start doctoring it up. I'll add my own stuff in there. And then all of a sudden I think to myself, oops, I think I've gone too far with that. You cannot overdo some things like certain spices, anything that's, you know, pungent or potent. You gotta go a little bit at a time, but I'll show you more when we get to the, you know, we're gonna do that in a minute here. But I just wanted to say the spice and the seasonings are really what give that signature and the depth. That's what really kind of makes something after you have, you know, the three major that really respond to your taste buds, the areas in your taste buds, which are salt, sweet, sour. So the spicy and the seasonings are really, I'm just gonna say that again, that's really where you get the magic, shall we say. So obviously all of the best dishes really have a good balance of all, and you don't necessarily have to have all of them present, you know. I consider when I make something and I have what I call stock vegetables that are more like blender flavors, like garlic, onion, you know, they just kind of smooth out the rough edges, shall we say, and kind of mix everything and blend it together. And sometimes just time does. You can, time, like actual literal time, can season something and cause the flavors to blend. Like, you know, my mom made a chicken tetrazzini dish that she'd make. It was my brother's, his favorite. So she'd make that for his birthday every year. And she would always say that it was always better the next day. And then there's a lot of, especially a lot of pasta dishes. They, you know, something about that just being allowed to kind of, you know, go together for a little bit of time, all of the elements, it really kind of solidifies the flavor. Now you can create your own flavor, okay? And I'm gonna go in that with a salad dressing that I made on Friday. I have it, and I'm just gonna talk about that too. But you can create your own flavor that you didn't really taste before, just as a mixture of some other things, you know, some flavors. That's what they do with curry. You know, when you have specific kind of curry powders, you know, you got your regular yellow, you got Madras curry, you've got, you know, curry paste, curry powders, and really all that is a mixture of different specified seasonings, you know, in amounts, and everybody has their own, the way they like to do it. So, so there's a lot to be said for creating really good flavor. But having the talent of knowing how to balance, you know, because I never just pour stuff together and then go, okay, here you go. Oh man, I'm tasting it. I'm gonna try a little bit of that. Oh, it's a little salty. I'm gonna add a little more sugar in there, you know, or in my case, I'm adding stevia or erythritol or, you know, whatever, monk fruit. That's my new go-to. So, there's a lot to be said for that. It's really good, like I said, to have one or two things that are going to be your showcase, you know, like the lemon thyme in the salmon, or Caesar salad dressing. It's, you know, I don't know if a lot of you don't even realize this, but it was, now, you know, I've heard this story may have been debunked, but somehow I was told that it was made in Mexico from this guy that was just in a jam, and he had just had to whip together what he had, and he had lemon juice and some mayonnaise and some anchovies. and some vinegar, and he just made the Caesar dressing. Whether or not that's absolutely true, you know, I've never really looked in to find out if that's the case. Excuse me. So we're gonna make some, but you know, in a second. But I was always curious about that, you know. But a lot of times, like I said, you have an idea, you know, if I'm gonna make some chicken and I want to marinate it, and all I have is, you know, mustard in there, and you know, I can make a little marinade, the same as a salad dressing. Salad dressing and marinades, pretty similar. You know, I actually made a dressing for the Friday thing that was made out of grapefruit juice and fresh tarragon, because I had some, and I whipped that up like a salad dressing, and I marinated my chicken in it. It was delicious, because I had some grapefruits that the neighbor had given me, and I was like, what am I gonna do with these? I don't even drink grapefruit juice. So I made do with something that I had on hand, just like the guy that invented Caesar dressing, apparently. So, you know, sometimes that mix of many flavors can create its own, you know, just like we were saying. And, you know, the sweet, sour, and salt, they can balance each other. And a good blender, and this is one thing that I was going to say, I'm just kind of going back over this, like rehashing. But garlic and onion are universal, really good blenders. They really are. They kind of tend to mellow something out. Wine, I use, you know, a lot of white wine and stuff, or red if it's you know, that kind of like if you're doing a red sauce. But I use wine in like my Thanksgiving turkey gravy, and you know, it's just something that just adds a little something to it, and the alcohol cooks out. So, you know, if alcohol is a problem for you, that's not to worry. But, you know, I have dishes that I've made with Marsala wine. You know, there's a very famous chicken Marsala, you know, and you spritz a little wine in there as the chicken's cooking up, and it absorbs that flavor, you know. So flavor can come in a variety of ways, but I thought I just wanted to go through this, you know, before you know, before we move over and do this dressing. I think I covered all that I wanted to say about that. Now I'm going to post this too, you know, this little, it's a worksheet, and it just really is kind of some of, you know, my ideas. Oh, what was I saying? Okay, that's what I wanted to say. The garlic and onion. I keep granulated garlic and granulated onion too. Not the powdered ones, because they're too fine and you tend to use too much, and then it's like, you know, it's not good. So I find the right consistency for me is granulated. Okay, so we're gonna move over and put this Caesar dressing together, and I'm gonna show you a cool product too. All right, so here we go. Got my little setup here, and oh, I did want to show you. Okay, so I've got this salad dressing blueprint, and I kind of just made my own notes of what I'm gonna have in, you know, to substitute in for what I have listed here as the ideas to put into the blueprint. And the first thing that I use for any salad dressing is oil, basic, you know, half cup of oil and a quarter cup of vinegar, and oops, cutting myself off there. And I always put a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Adds a little creaminess, and it just adds a little pop, and also a little bit of lemon juice too. I just find that's classic salad dressing 101. Then I have optional items that you can add in. You could add in some juice or fresh fruit. You know, that can take care of your sweetness category. You know, a half teaspoon of a condiment. You know, I already have the mustard in there, but sometimes I'll put some soy sauce, or maybe some pepper jelly or some grape jelly, or whatever it is, whatever flavors I'm looking to kind of mix together. And I put stock vegetables in there too. I put it in my dressing. Like, I had actually roasted up some shallots, which is in the onion family, same idea. Roasted up some garlic and shallots and threw those in there. So I made it was kind of like on Friday, I'm just gonna say what I did. I did the grapefruit and tarragon, and then I did a raspberry dill. I had fresh dill and fresh raspberries. So I put my oil, my vinegar, my mustard, my lemon juice in there. I put in 3/4 of a cup of the fresh fruit, which was the raspberries. And then I put in some stock vegetables, which were the roasted shallots and the garlic. Now, I could have put raw shallots and raw garlic, but there's really a different flavor between roasting it and putting it in raw. It's kind of like, you know how when you cut onions and it irritates your eyes? Well, it's the same kind of thing. It has a distinctly different taste. If you want it to be a little more mellow, then definitely roast it. I mean, I just throw them in the little toaster oven in a thing of tinfoil. And, super, super simple. You can do that while you're getting the rest of the stuff together. But for my seasonings, for the grapefruit dressing, I just added tarragon. And for the seasoning for the raspberry dill one was the dill. And then salt, pepper, and garlic. I had fresh garlic in there, but I still probably added a little bit of, some garlic powder. And I probably, even though I had the shallots, maybe even added in a little onion powder. I don't know, you gotta taste it and then just see, do I need to mellow this out? Or does it need a little more tangy? Does it need to be sweeter? Those are all just the questions you go through in your head. You just taste it and, see what you like. So, this is something easy to play with, okay? Is doing, taking this dressing recipe, blueprint and creating something for yourself. Here's the benefit, okay? It's cheap, okay? I get these good dressings I get in Whole Foods. They're like $5 and $6 because they're all natural and they're organic and whatever. But, you can make them out of stuff you have hanging around. I did a basil and orange one. It was lovely. You can make a creamy pesto. Ooh, that's what I should do maybe this week too, is do a pesto. There's a million different things you could do. I'm gonna do a Caesar right now. I'm gonna use my salad dressing blueprint here. So my base is oil and vinegar. I'm gonna start with. So this calls for 1/2 cup of good quality oil, or you can substitute some of this measurement with sour cream, yogurt, mayo, or something similar if you want a more creamy consistency. And I would make no fat dressing, because that was in the 90s when everybody was convinced that fat was bad for you, but olive oil is not. We need fat for our brains to work right. So if you have brain fog, maybe you're not having a good enough amount of omega-3s in your diet. Fatigue, all of these things. So anyway, I have about 1/3 cup of buttermilk. I used to make my dressing with buttermilk. I got it out of Bon Appetit 100 million years ago, but I liked it and it was easy, and I've been doing it like that for years. So I got about 1/3 cup, and it calls for 1/2 cup of a mixture or whatever. So I'm gonna put olive oil in till I reach the 1/2 cup line, and I'm gonna put that in my little trashed Vitamix. This sucker's about 15 years old. It has been in a professional kitchen and has earned what I paid for it. Okay, so we've got the oil, and I'm gonna put red wine vinegar because that is definitely an Italian thing. I can just use the same dirty cup. all going in the same place. Oh, here I go, 1/4 cup. I got ahead of myself there. I was looking, thinking, wow, that's a lot of vinegar. Okay, 1/4 cup. And then, as I have in any blueprint as the basic, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. Oops. I don't have an official teaspoon thing here, but I think it's in the dishwasher. But I'm winging it, that's how I roll. And a 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice, which is just a little pinch. Okay, so that's my basis for any dressing, okay? And I normally, or my base, but I normally, I guess, if I was just gonna go with that, I would probably at least put in, you know, the shallots and the onions. So I cooked all my onions and shallots. I cooked them all on Friday, so I don't have any to put in here. So I'm gonna go with the dry stuff. And that's the thing, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, as long as you have the flavor in there, you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. So, okay, so my optional items that I can add, some juice, some fresh fruit, not gonna do that. 1 or 2 teaspoons of a condiment. You know what I'm probably gonna end up doing? I'm gonna put some hot sauce in there, okay? So, and because it's hot sauce and it's spicy, when I say 1 to 2, definitely gonna go, and I'm gonna put maybe 1/2 teaspoon. I'm gonna go real gentle. And because I can always add in more. And sometimes, you know, I'll taste them and say, just needs a little more punch. Now, I am, like I said, putting it, that was my seasoning, okay. So, I am also, remember when I said, you know, I can add in more condiments if I want, and I do. Now, remember when I said that Caesar was started with anchovies? Well, fish sauce, Thai fish sauce, is made from anchovies. So, I'm gonna add another teaspoon, and this is gonna be my salty. That's gonna be my salty part of the flavor. And I think I'm gonna add just a little bit more. I like my dressing pretty pungent. And so now I'm going to put in my stock vegetables, which would be a 1/4 cup of medium, you know, or 2 medium-sized shallots, or 1 teaspoon of onion powder. I'm gonna put the teaspoon of onion powder in there, okay? And I'm gonna also put some garlic in there. And I might put a little extra than what the recipe calls for, because it really could use some garlic in there. Now, typically I like to put a little Parmesan. I always put, and I have some good Parmesan here. This is actually a non-dairy Parmesan that's delicious. I gave somebody and they didn't even know. Follow Your Heart. It's a really good brand. But, and this is kind of my food hack, or my product today that I wanted to show you guys too. I get this at Trader Joe's. It's called Nutritional Yeast. And it's just good for you. It is what it says. And I'm gonna put like a little pinch or so of that in there. It tends to add like a cheesy flavor to it, and it's a mellow kind of blending flavor. It doesn't taste good on its own, but it's really good blender, and it adds in a lot of, you know, special stuff. So, and then I'm also gonna put in, it says 1/2 teaspoon of an herb or spice. So I'm gonna put in a little bit of parsley. And because parsley is, it's pretty benign. There's not a whole lot of flavor to it, but it's another thing that's just kind of really mellow. So there we go. I'm gonna place that in, you know, I got that in. So the last time I used this, I had the little plastic top of my thing and oopsie. So I have to order, I'm probably gonna order a whole new unit here, because this one is just fast and slow, and the brand new ones have like a thing where you can turn up the volume, because this goes super high RPMs and everything goes whoosh. So these Vitamixes they're the best. They really are what you'll see when somebody has a like a smoothie store. That's what they use. These are for a professional. So I'll just zip this up. Okay, voila. I'm gonna, that's a chef thing, stick my pinky in there. It's pretty good. Oh, you know what I forgot was salt, pepper, and garlic. I may add a little, that's always in the bottom there. Salt, pepper, garlic to taste. So I might just add in a little bit of that, and I'm off. But for me, it's just a nice little, I can pour that back in there. It's got a nice little consistency to it. The oil emulsifies, and that acts as the thickener. This is a little thinner because I didn't have as much oil in there, but that's really what I wanted to go through. But this nutritional yeast, really good product if you have to, if you wanted to make a cheese sauce and you're trying to stay away from more of the dairy. You could use to be honest with you, you could add in the yeast, a little bit of yeast, of that nutritional yeast, and a little less cheese, and you'd still have that flavor in there. I make a macaroni and cheese with spaghetti squash, and it's got half the dairy that it would have been, originally. So anyway, I know this went a little long today, but it's because I wanted to add this in so that you guys would have some cooking in there. I'm definitely going to do another cooking show this week, with different kinds of vegetables and using this vegetable blueprint. Maybe like a stir fry. I think that's what I'll do. I'll do my idea of stir fry doesn't necessarily mean Asian. I mean, maybe we'll do the same thing. We'll do it Asian, Italian, Mexican. That seems to be, and that's kind of, that seems to be a really handy thing. And that's kind of what I was getting at when you can make a list of your go-to things. Try and think of something easy you can make, where you could change it up and just do different flavors in there. It's the same thing. You already make it. You already kind of know what to do. You just put different flavors into that same blueprint. Really the whole idea behind that is to get you into eating something better. And the salad, that's the one point I did want to make. The salad dressings, you can marinate stuff with them. Make one or two every other week or whatever. They hold up pretty good, especially if you've got oil in there and it's emulsified. It kind of acts, and you've got, some acidity in there, vinegar. It's going to hold up. It's not going to really get, yucky. Usually in about a week, you've got some time there. But what I was going to say is, it is a healthy practice to eat a bunch of greens every single day. It's going to help clean you out, provide nutrients. Nobody eats enough of that. Just really a super good practice. And you can make just a simple little salad with, a beautiful dressing like this. Add in, a few nuts or some cooked chicken or, whatever it is. Some people I've put tempeh in a salad before that I had, sauteed up. Which is, for those of you that don't know, it's just soy curds that you season, and just different kind of tofu, shall I say. But you can put, any kind of vegetables. I mean, the sky's the limit. And it's being able to just have a go-to, make it your salad a go-to meal twice a week, for your family. Maybe a little harder with kids. But I remember those days. But anyway, thank you so much for checking in, and I hope you guys all had a great weekend and looking for a good week. Well, it's Monday. Woohoo! All right, thank you so much.